I was just thinking as I roll into this episode that probably one of the areas we got to upgrade on this program is intro. I don't know. Everybody's got like a cool video. I don't have a cool video. I just play a song and then I start talking. This is an audio podcast that I've figured out how to make a video podcast. You get what you get and you don't get upset, as we tell the children, but then they get upset anyway. So the hell good did that do? Welcome to the show. It's Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I'm Dan Vespris. Thanks as always for tuning in. Hit that like button if you're watching on the YouTubes. Subscribe, no matter how you're taking in the content. And if you have a moment, I haven't bugged you guys about this in a while. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, please drop that 5-star review. That's actually really important. Those of you that did it at the beginning of the year and through the end of the offseason, draft season, whatever, this number of Spotify reviews we've been able to rack up here in year one of this show is pretty amazing. We're like up around 400 reviews. I don't know, percentage of you is doing it that listens. It's usually not that high of a percentage. So thank you for that. That's awesome. This is a Week 19 preview show. Just dive right in here. We're going to go through the weekly sit-start decisions, and then we're going to take you through the streaming calendar of a week that has very few anomalies. This is a anomaly-free zone after the All-Star break weeks was heavy on anomalies. It was anomalous. I'm going to say it as many times as I can over this 20-second period. So streaming-wise, we have a lot of options midway through the week. Not a ton at the beginning. We'll get to that in a second. First things first, weekly sit start. I know some of you are still in weekly leagues. Some of you still have locks. I find it extremely annoying, but I also know that it's out there. So let's just go through like the top 125 or so guys that have any kind of injury tag and get you settled. You can see that we're recording this partway through this Knicks-Boston game that's going right now. Wemby obviously out for the year. No. AD out for a while. No. Dame is probable for Sunday. Yes. Top of the board at least is pretty easy for us here. And we can already get into the next 25. Great. Jalen Johnson's obviously a no. He's out for the year. Darius Garland is questionable for the game for the Cavs on Sunday evening and was not at shoot-around. He's dealing with a hip thing. He also bunked his head. And I don't know if they're trying to do a little bait-and-switch deal where they're blaming it on the hip, but it's actually the head. But either way, I wouldn't start Garland until we actually see him get into a ball game. Cleveland has a crappy schedule to start the week anyway, so for you daily players, that becomes a little bit of an easier decision. For you weekly players, they don't go on Monday. So whatever you get on Sunday in terms of data, that's all you're going to get on Garland. So I would lean towards no unless he comes out of nowhere and plays on Sunday. Tyler Hero has a game time decision call, but he's probable, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Norman Powell's a tough one. I'm hoping he plays on Sunday because that would take a little bit of the pressure off of us. But they do also go again on Monday in Detroit. It's an Indy-Detroit back-to-back. Clippers are in the middle of a very long road trip coming out of the All-Star break. It's a 7-gamer, excuse me. They're not back home until March 5th. So the status on Norman Powell is whatever happens on Monday, that's what you're doing. Forget what name we came up with for that. Call it a Monday Mirror. Monday Mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Is Norman Powell going to play? Oh, no, I could have missed it. Should I start Norman Powell? Is where I probably should have gone with that one. I take a bow and I continue. John Collins sat out Utah's last ball game, likely due to rest. That was, believe it or not. I know. Gasp. A back-to-back. They have a back-to-back to finish this week. Sunday into Monday of next week. I don't know which one of those he sits. He'll sit one of them. But you're going to get either 3 or 4 games, most likely, out of John this week. So I would probably start him. And on top of everything else, Utah plays on Monday. So you're going to get more information on him at the start of your week. Anyway, Jared Allen was present at shoot-around for the Cavaliers, so I'm expecting him to be good to go this week. I know the Cavs' schedule is not that great, but if he plays on Sunday, that makes your call pretty easy. Jakob Poeltl's an interesting one. He is questionable for Toronto's game. What time is that game? 3 o'clock Pacific? So it's slightly later, at least compared to a lot of the stuff going on Sunday. I'm hoping he gets into it. Toronto has a good schedule this week. I don't think Poeltl plays in the back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday, but it's a 4-gamer. Unfortunately, it's one of those tough ones because, look, he's been out for a few weeks now. I don't know if he's just going to drop back in and play 30 minutes. My guess would be no, but he could. So what do we do if he doesn't play on Sunday, obviously, if he plays on Sunday, you start Pirtle this week. If he doesn't play on Sunday, I'm probably still starting him. I think you're getting 3 games out of Pirtle this coming week, kind of regardless of what happens on Sunday, which I know is brazen and way overconfident, but it sounds like he's really, really close. And so they could just give him 2 more days off, and he probably goes on Wednesday. Again, kind of independent, but certainly what we're thinking about here is what if he doesn't go on Sunday? Before we get too far into the show, I've got to remind you guys of our partners at Bet Online. I hope many of you have been checking them out. They've got every action you could think of. It's the world's most trusted betting platform, so that's obviously the most important thing. And your number one source for online betting in 2025. It's great if you're a seasoned fan, seasoned bettor, or a first-timer. They've got stuff for all of you guys. Live in-game odds, props, odds on everything, stats, NBA, college hoops, NHL, UFC, baseball's coming up, football when it comes back around. They've got all the good stuff. So from every hat trick to every three-pointer, BetOnline has you covered. Odds, stats, more on every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. Let's keep going on our sit-start decisions. Joel Embiid feels like he's about to crump. It's hard to say that this is going to be the moment, but they have a 3-game week, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. So a pretty light week for Philly, meaning it kind of feels like Embiid probably tries to keep the train on the tracks a little bit longer. But they've got like the 6th worst record in the NBA right now. They're just a bad team. Philly's bad. They put their eggs in the wrong basket. They bet on the wrong horse, it looks like right now. Maybe they can get themselves healthy for next year, but it ain't happening this season. And I'm, by the way, pretty flabbergasted. I thought even with like a half-strength Joel Embiid and then Paul George and Maxey, they'd be competitive, but they're terrible. They can't guard anyone. They're just slow and old and beat up. Rickety. By the way, it makes, and this is not to like, I know I'm wearing all Los Angeles gear today. This is not to make a full-on LA statement, but what LeBron is doing is so insane that man is 40 and he's still moving like that. These guys on the Sixers are like, PG's getting into his mid-30s here, but like Embiid is not that old. I know he just broke down, but it's hard to stay that fast for that long. It's mind-boggling. It's nothing to do with today's show, but anyway. So I would start Embiid. I know that we're kind of walking the razor's edge at that point, but if you've got him right now, you almost kind of have to. The problem, of course, is that he's questionable. So I don't think that they had him designated as questionable for the last ball game. I think he was just sort of likely to play, which does, give me some pause. Let's play mirror game with Embiid. They've got a game on Monday. Mirror, Joel Embiid. If he plays on Monday, great. If he doesn't, go somewhere else. Freddie VanVleet, you don't play him until he's back. He's been out for a long time. Even once Freddie returns, he's going to need a ramp up. And Houston has a 3-game week with a back-to-back that I've forgotten to color code on my very free, very always available Google Sheet that you guys should get in the show description. So you're getting probably 2 games out of Freddie max this coming week. That's not good for weekly lineup locks. Tari Eason sat out a back-to-back, as we just talked about with Houston. That's a 2-game week for him, so he's a sit also. I know he's fun, he's great, but you got to sit him. 2-game week ain't enough. Brandon Miller's out for the year. Giannis, what's the Giannis deal here? Oh, they're probable. That's one of those like, oh yeah, he's a game-time decision. No, he's not. Giannis is in. Jalen Suggs, keep him on your bench until you actually see him play. DeAndre Ayton is out for a while, so that's a no. Same with Brandon Ingram. PJ Washington is questionable, which is not my favorite, especially when you consider the fact that Dallas plays Sunday and then has a 3-game week that starts on Tuesday. So I think with Washington, you kind of have to go mirror to Sunday instead of mirror Monday. It's, what can we do here? That's alliterative. What's an alliterative word for copying that starts with the letter S that I can work in with the day of the week, Sunday? That would be a similar Sunday. Facsimile Sunday. It's not alliterative, but it's close enough. If PJ Washington plays in Golden State on Sunday night, I think you start him for the week. If he doesn't, you probably bench him. He's been really good, and he's going to do a lot right now, but you can't risk a 0. Rudy Gobert still out, so that's a no until you see him come back. Gafford's out for a while. Herb Jones is out for the year. Cam Thomas is getting closer, we're told, and Brooklyn does have a good schedule, but there's no way they bring him along any faster than like 16 to 18 minutes a game, probably for a whole week of basketball before it even looks a tiny bit more than that. Brooklyn, no one's ever tanked worse than the Brooklyn Nets. That's not true. There have been other teams that were supposed to be tanking that ended up being accidentally too good. Brooklyn's 7-3 in their last 10 ball games. They're a half game out of a play-in spot. Terrible tanking job there, which makes all the guys you're holding on to with the Nets seem a little bit dumb. Myself included on a couple of them, but maybe we go somewhere else. All right, we're getting towards the end of the sit-start decisions. Derek Lively's a no. Bobby Portis is suspended for a while. Chris Middleton is way too old and sits all the games. Robert Williams, same deal. Ayo has no timetable for return, so he's a sit. Frankly, he's probably a drop. Kawhi Leonard, I would expect to be a play this coming week. Clippers' schedule, again, involves a Sunday, Monday back-to-back, so one of those is going to be a no for Kawhi, but the rest of the week, you're going to get 3 games. And we haven't heard yet if he's playing Sunday or Monday. Oh, PJ Washington just got upgraded to available. Good news, everyone. You can just play him. So that's cool. Good news on PJ Washington. So Kawhi's a go. Randall's a no. I think we've probably gone about far enough on this list, haven't we? Colin Sexton's a no. D'Lo's a no. Clarkson is interesting. All right, that's one that I guess I'm glad we went far enough. I think I'd probably start him. He'll likely sit one half of Utah's back-to-back Sunday, Monday at the end of the week. But you're going to get 3.5 is sort of your estimate on how many games you're going to get out of Jordan Clarkson this week, because we don't know which of the ones at the end is going to be the rest day. And until Colin Sexton comes back, Clarkson's been good enough to start in most formats, certainly head-to-head. DiVincenzo, you keep him on your bench. Alex Sarr, what's the game time decision here? Oh, left ankle sprain. That's a shame. Be careful when you get into these types of things. I mean, Washington's schedule is bad this week anyway, so probably that's a no for weekly folks, but you get the idea. All right, let's pivot on over to, what the hell is this? That's the streaming board. I tried to make it a little bit smaller, and I don't know if I've gone too small, because when I'm recording this show and I can see what it looks like on my screen, I can see it pretty clearly. I'm guessing you guys would like me to zoom in a little more, so we'll do that. A little more zoomage. All right, this is what the coming week looks like. Week 19, it's highlighted here on the board. I know we've been down this road before. Most scheduled Yahoo pages do not have this listed as week 19. I don't care. It is the 19th week. Yahoo has it listed as week 17, but we're misusing the word week. It's not a week. It's a period. This is period 17, but it's week 19. They don't call me pedantic for nothing, but it is actually important because as we talk about stuff, we need to have the same nomenclature. Yahoo's combined a pair twice of weeks 2 times and still just called it a week. It's not a week anymore. That's 14 days. That's 2 weeks, but it's a period. Remember, the in-season tournament was 1 period over 2 weeks. The All-Star break is 1 period over 2 weeks. Period 17, week 19. That's what's coming up this week. You do not have that many choices at the front end of the week. Let's start with the bad schedules and work our way backwards from there. There are no teams in week 19 that have only 2 games. Zippo, zilch, none. There are some players that are going to have 2 games, like a team with 3 games that has a back-to-back, Houston being one of those, among others. So you can look at, actually, are there other 3-gamers that have a back-to-back? Well, there's like Washington here that has a back-to-back rolling into the week. And by the way, it's not a coincidence that a lot of those teams are highlighted in sort of like a light-duty brown or a more of a deeper reddish color. You'll also notice that none of the teams on this Google Sheet, which again, click into it, folks. If you're listening to this show without YouTube in particular, go to the show description, open the damn Google Sheet, and navigate over to the streaming calendar for 2024. That's what it's listed as. I know it's 24-25, but it just makes it easier to list it by the year that the season began. Then you can see what we're talking about, which, by the way, is important for this. This is a visual aid part of the program. The teams that are marked in sort of like a deep red are the teams that start the week with a bad schedule. Those teams are Cleveland, Memphis, and New York. And that's sort of it at the front end of the week. What makes the front end of the week bad for these teams? One game over 4 days. Cleveland has their game on Tuesday, just to line this up. Memphis, Tuesday. New York, Wednesday. So I guess by that token, New York would be the quote-unquote worst schedule to start the week because they don't play Monday or Tuesday, and they're the only team in the NBA that doesn't play either Monday or Tuesday. Everybody else in the league, the other 29 teams, play at least one of those 2 days, and one team plays both. Charlot. Am I pronouncing that right? It's a French city, right? The Charlot Hornet. It's a Wayne's World 2 joke. Stumbled right into it. Which, by the way, answers the next question on this show, which is, all right, if I'm sitting on a streamer on the Cavaliers, call him Max Strus, call him DeAndre Hunter, call him Ty Jerome, or you're sitting on a Memphis Grizzlies streamer, call them, I don't know, I guess Santi Aldama is maybe a little bit better than a streamer, but it's basically Santi Aldama. Or Brandon Clark, or whoever, or you're sitting on a Knicks streamer, which doesn't have a name because Thibodeau just plays his starters 8,000 minutes a game. Oh, the Precious Achua run of fun is over. That's disappointing. All right, you can cast him off into the ocean. Oh, poo, I think I started him in a league. I'll admit, I didn't realize this game started that early. I knew it was a day game, but it's a morning game. We West Coasters, sometimes we wear it, and that was one of it. But the point of all of this is, those teams that we just talked about, 3 teams, Cleveland, Memphis, New York, keep scrolling back and forth on the screen for YouTubers so you can see who I'm talking about, but you don't need that. We just leave it on Cleveland for now. Those teams have one game over the first 4 days of the week. There is but one team, Charlotte, we already told you, that has 3 games over the first 4 days of this week. And if you've watched this show over the years or over the weeks or even over the days, you know I'm not using moves in my head-to-head league unless it's for 4 days or more. 4 or more. I don't do the 2-day stream thing. You blow through your weekly moves way too fast. I've been calling it long streaming for the better part of half a decade. I have not registered the trademark on that, but that's what it's called. I don't care what the rest of y'all say. Long streaming is what it's called. This is a medium stream. 4 days is a medium stream. Long streaming is like 9. The optimal is 7. 5 games in 7 nights. That's your big win. But 3 games in 4 days will sort of, as I had a college professor that used the weirdest expression, I've picked it up over the years, and I don't even really know what it means. But 3 games in 4 nights, that'll cut the mustard. It makes no sense. Who's cutting their mustard? I guess people who freeze their mustard. Never really thought through it like that. The problem here, of course, is that Charlotte sucks. They suck. They got beat by 50 points by the Blazers over the weekend, and they're terrible. The silver lining on a terrible team is that they're probably going to have some streaming options because they're going to get blown out, and they've got guys that rest. So, for instance, in one of these 2 back-to-backs to start the week, you're not going to have LaMelo Ball, and you're probably not going to have Mark Williams either. Meaning, you could stream Yusuf freaking Nurkic or Musa Diabate, and you're probably going to get an okay pair of games. 2 of the 3, if you hold for all 4, are probably not going to be all that great. Nurk has actually shown an ability to put up some kind of interesting fantasy numbers in limited minutes. And you do that 3 times with maybe one game that's a little bit better than the others. Hard to say. Last time on the back-to-back, Diabate was the guy who got the extra minutes. So maybe not. Nick Smith Jr. figures to put up a decent number of points in those 3 games. So that's something. Josh Green is not good. None of these guys is good. But if you can just wedge enough stuff out of 3 games in 4 days, that's how that move makes sense. The problem, of course, here is that there really isn't anybody else that you want to go to. The other teams, nobody has a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back. The best you're going to get out of moving off of a Cavalier to a non-Charlotte team is a team that plays 2 times over those 4 days. So these are your other choices. You either go Charlotte and just play one of these clunker teams, and you could actually hold for 6 days if you really wanted to. That's if the stream is going well. I probably get out on Friday if you have Charlotte, but you don't have to. Or you go to basically any team that plays 2 games over the first 3 days of the week and abandon ship on Thursday, which lines up with the teams I've color coded in sort of a yellowish brown, teams that start the week with an okay schedule, but then finish the week with a weak schedule. Those teams are the Houston Rockets, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Sacramento Kings, and the Washington Wizards. You may have also noticed I color-coded not just Charlotte. Charlotte got color-coded in dark green. I color-coded Minnesota in light green because they are the team to grab if you're making a pivot on Thursday. Minnesota has a bad schedule the first 3 days of the week, only 1 game over 3 days. So you don't want to have them over that span, but you do starting on Thursday because they, on Thursday, start a 5-game in 7-day span. And there have been some streamable Timberwolves lately. Nickeil Alexander-Walker being probably the most relevant among them, although Mike Conley's back, so it's not quite as simple as it was a couple days ago. But just looking over the team, Alexander-Walker still played 43 minutes because DiVincenzo, Randall, and Gobert are all out. Jalen Clark played 20 damn minutes in that game. I wouldn't go down that path. But, Conley himself is probably a stream-level guy. He's probably on your waiver wire. So Conley, Nickeil Alexander-Walker are probably the guys you're looking at starting on Thursday. And those are kind of the only 2 paths you really need to worry about. The only other one would be if you held your Charlotte player through Thursday and then you were looking at Friday. And the options are not terrific that day. Detroit is decent because they go Friday, Saturday, and they play 4 games in 6 nights, 3 games in 4 nights. You're pretty much looking for anybody that goes 3 times in 4 days if you're making the pivot on Friday. And those teams are Detroit, Memphis, oddly enough, Miami, which is probably your best choice there because they go from a Friday game and then Sunday they start a 5 and 7. And let's see, Portland, Oklahoma City, Utah. So there's actually a lot of options if you wanted to go Friday. You get 2 games the rest of this week if you make your move on Friday off of Charlotte, and you start next week strong. That's kind of what you're looking at there. But there isn't a whole lot else to do this week. That's kind of your choice if you want to maximize your moves. So I would say on Monday, again, pivot off of Cavs, Grizzlies, and Knicks streamers and pivot onto Charlotte if you can. And plan B is pivot onto anybody who plays twice Monday through Wednesday. And then you can lump plan B in with the teams that have bad schedules the second half of the week, which is Houston, Philadelphia, Sacramento, and Washington, meaning after you're done with whoever you played Monday through Wednesday, you move over to, what did we say? Minnesota is your top choice there, like by a lot, but they're not the only one. Other teams have 3 games in 4 nights to finish the week. Denver is a possibility. You just have to use another move on Sunday that you don't have to do with Minnesota. Lakers have actually a really heavy schedule pretty much the rest of the season. So if you wanted to have a Lakers streamer, you could do that. You could ride it almost forever, but probably want to make a move on Monday. New Orleans, they have a good schedule into next week. The Pelicans end up with 7 games over 11 days. That's not a bad stretch there. Phoenix, you could do on Thursday. You probably want to get off of them on Monday also. So there are a lot of other possibilities on Thursday if you can't land a Timberwolf. Okay, then. We're not going to do an underdog card today because the games have already started today, so it really ain't going to do a whole lot to help you. But I will tell you about them because I've been having actually a lot of fun over at UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up today using promo code OLDMAN, OLDMAN, or just click the link in the show description. That's obviously the easiest way to do it. OLDMAN, click the link to unlock 2 sweet bonuses. Bonus number 1, up to $1,000 in deposit match bonus cash on your first deposit. Bonus number 2, a freebie, a free square on your first play, because normally all you got to do with Underdog is pick higher or lower on 2 projections on the night's card. That's it. You can go bigger than that if you want. If you go 2 projections, it's 3x. If you go 3 projections, it just keeps jumping. 6x, 12, 10, 20, 4, like the whole thing, it goes on and on. Odds of winning, your best way to win is to do 2 at a time. It's as simple as that. It's like a parlay in normal betting. You don't want to do them unless you can find a way to kind of correlate them a little bit. And even then, the more you do, the lower the chances that you can hit. And the odds don't reflect that perfectly across the sort of gaming landscape. So your best bet here is, instead of trying to shoot the moon, just do 2 at a time and use your freebie on one of those when you start. Again, that's promo code OLDMAN, OLDMAN, or hit the link in the show description. It's so easy to do. I told you guys already, I don't understand DFS, but I'm doing totally fine at Underdog Fantasy. I'm basically break even, actually up a little bit since I started to figure it out. It took me a few days to kind of get an understanding of it, but now I've been slowly on the upswing. And then they throw other bonuses from time to time. They had a no sweat $10 play on the Super Bowl. They had a no sweat $10 play on that USA Canada hockey deal that there's an old joke where a guy's in a casino, and I know that this is not what Underdog wants me talking about because it's not betting. This is a fantasy game, and there's a lot of skill involved in understanding what the players are going to do. But let me tell you guys a joke before we sign off for the day. 2 guys are in a sports book in Las Vegas. One of them goes to the other and says, "What do you got? What are you playing today?" The other guy says, "Nothing." The first guy says, "What do you mean nothing? What do you even do in this sports book?" He goes, "Well, yesterday I had like 4 locks on baseball, lost them all. Day before that, I had 6 NBA plays. I loved them, lost them all. I'm 0-10 in my last 2 days. And if you go back the last week to football, I lost 6 plays on that too. I'm 0 for 16 over the last week here in the sports book." And the first guy says, "Well, why don't you try hockey instead?" The second guy goes, "Well, what the do I know about hockey?" That's a joke that only degenerates will really enjoy. If you don't understand it, I'm happy to explain in the comments section, which are open. Subscribe to Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. Love you guys. Hit that like button on the way out. And again, Spotify, iTunes listeners, please drop a 5-star review. I'm Dan for Old Man Squad. We'll be back tomorrow. There will be an episode of The Specialists with Slick Rock dropping tomorrow. We'll also have our big weekend review. We're going to try to get back into the normal flow of things now that we're out of the All-Star break. And starting next Monday, not the 24th, but whatever the hell, March 3rd, I think it is, we're going to start doing about a 15-minute streaming show. So a lot like this weekly preview, but for daily players, and we're going to do it every day, as long as I can, with actual names to target. Instead of just teams, we're going to get into the names, because now we're going to be close enough to actually have the news to make those types of decisions. So that's fantasy playoff time, and we try to do that for about 5 or 6 weeks in a row. So lots of shows coming up, lots of reasons to subscribe. Baseball draft season stuff, that's another reason to hit that subscribe button. And I better go shower because I got to get a kid. That's how my day goes. I'm Dan. Thanks for watching. I'm out.